Testing. Here comes the gentleman. It's open.
Eva, you could, the knob is really, might want to put down the thing.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome again to another edition on a Sabbath day, July the 19th, 2025. Above all else, prophecy unfolding. We welcome all our online viewers. We thank you for your patience. We had some technicalities that we were working out, but we're moving forward. We have Brother Ralph again with us tonight, myself, Brother Dugan, Dale, and we're proceeding tonight with 15-minute cities. It will be a short, possibly interesting topic, but all these fundamentals that we've shared with you since the beginning of last year, we are endeavored or inspired to share this by the Spirit of Christ in us. We're like watchmen, and we're just sharing the fundamentals of things that you're probably not aware of, and we just want to, let you know what's coming down the totem pole. Brother Ralph, if you could have a word of prayer for us, thank you.
Bow our heads. Gracious God, we're so very grateful and thankful for once again being here in your house, our house of worship. May we learn the things you would have us to learn, and that it may make us aware of the fact that your coming is very near. We pray, dear God, that as we face what lies ahead, we may face it with you at our side. For the places, and pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. So we'll get our vocal cords prepared, and we'll sing hymn 375, Work for the Night is Coming. We have it on screen, so those of you who want to follow. Ralph can start us out. Let's see.
Work for the night is coming.
Work through the morning hours. Work while the dew is sparkling. Work midst flowers. Work while the day grows brighter under the glowing sun. Work for night is coming when man's work is done. We'll sing all of it. Second one. Work for the night is coming. Work through the sunny noon. Fill brightest hour
with labor.
from short and soon. Give every flying minute something to keep in store. Work for the night is coming when man's work no more. Last verse. Work for the night is coming under the sunset skies, while their bright tints are glowing. Work for the daylight flies. Work till the last beam fadeth to sun no more. Work for the Lord is coming when man's work is o'er. Amen. So, 15-minute cities, and just for a little participation. It's on, actually. Just between the two of you. Any commentaries? Because if we speak, they can generally hear questions. Yeah, they can't hear us, and sometimes people are so we can hear, but they can't. So, Ralph, you want to kind of open it up a little bit before we get into the nuggets of it?
15-minute cities are cities that are being built around big cities in the United States. And you ask why? What's the reason for the 15-minute cities? Well, they say it's going to be something that'll be helpful. I don't know. We need to go back a little bit and say, I don't know if you've heard the fact that you're saying we're not going to own anything in the future. Nobody's going to have anything. And so basically they want to make sure that we stay within range. So the 15-minute, back up a little bit, Newsom, okay, Governor Newsom, when there was the burning of those million-dollar homes, I don't know if you recall, in LA, okay? Yeah,
Palisade, Pacific Palisades,
yeah,
yes.
okay.
And Altadena,
yeah.
yes.
Anyway, after the burning, it's interesting, before we go to there, they actually were trying to use water to drown them out, but they noticed that there was no water, okay? And so they had a difficult time basically turning off the fires. Then they found cans of, what is it called? I guess you would, it's not gasoline, but it's fluid that starts up really fast. Anyway, they had found those among 3
Like accelerant,
gentlemen.
I'm sorry, accelerant, an accelerated
Yeah.
fluid.
Okay. And so basically, they couldn't stop the fires. They could not stop them. And afterwards, it's interesting that Governor Newsom said, smiling, he says, now I'm going to be able to build my city the way I want. And so what city was it that he wanted? He wanted a 15-minute city. And the question was asked, well, what is a 15-minute city? And it's a city that is built close to big cities where people who can walk, people who can ride their bike, people who can take buses there, can go shopping. They'll have everything you need. They'll have food, they'll have clothes, shoes, cooking utensils, whatever is needed, they will have. And so that is something that Governor Newsom is basically building one in LA. And there are others who are being built too. I think there is one in Northern California. I'm not sure exactly where, but there's another one in Northern California. And so they're building them here and there. And basically, they're doing it where the big cities are at, so they can control the people. You say, why do they want to control the people? Well, we'll ask Dale here, why would they want to control the people?
Well, history tends to repeat itself. Brother Ralph, thank you for the explanation. You did a great job. To add, in addition to what he said, the co-founder behind 15-Minute Cities is Carlos Marino. He allegedly is the man behind the concept of this. And again, you know, how about shopping, having your education just 15 minutes away? I mean, is that okay to you guys? I mean, any commentary, you know, just the idea. You've never heard of this before, but it's there. This is not something we cooked up. This is something that the elites, the globalists are putting together. They're always putting together something behind the scenes. Timothy? Sorry. Just flip it. Yeah.
That's like a walkable city, right?
Yes.
Because I've
Yeah.
heard of that concept, the walkable city.
Yes, yes. Yeah, places like, again, we'll go back and I'll show on the slide again. There are places that are like Australia that are already, they have already prepared this concept. Singapore is a nice country, very clean. Rome, hello, Rome. Another place in Netherlands, the Utrecht or something of that sort. Utrecht, yeah. They have this idea, and Paris. I actually had, when I was researching this, Paris is also one of those cities since 9/11 that was constructed to have this idea of a 15-minute city type of idea. We will have videos. We can't really give you the whole concept of everything, but we do have video clips. Maximum is about 19 minutes. We should be out of here hopefully by the hour or so. We're probably just going to go ahead, Brother Ralph, because I'm going to jump into the video clips to give you the full synopsis, and that will probably, afterwards, you guys can have questions or so.
The big question is, why would they want something like that? How is it that they're going to be able to control the people? Well, I don't know if you've heard of this, but, and I'm not sure if it was mentioned this morning, that we're not going to own anything. We're not going to own cars. We're not going to own houses, and we'll be happy. That's what they're saying. And that's the plan for the future. And they want to set all that up in 2030.
Right. And what he's talking about, this is maybe mind-boggling, the WEF, UN, IMF. Guys, there are three named acronyms, but the main one, I'm just putting those acronyms out, but you ever heard of them? The UN and the United Nations, the WHO, right? All these things are in the background. Maybe since COVID, I knew about the WHO in more focus. But what Ralph is explaining, and these people about 2030, the World Economic Forum, they're in Europe, Davos, Switzerland is usually their meeting place. Tim is there shaking his head. He must kind of know or hear something. These people, I don't know who they are, but they're very powerful, and they have these networks of companies and so forth, and they're trying to create basically a new world order. I think, Ralph, you lived longer than I have, Sister Jiva, and this thing about this new world order, we'll have a different way of living, exchanging monies, digital income. We spoke about these things in our seminars almost 6-7 months ago, CBDC. At the end of this, I'll show you, Friday, Thursday, the government just passed a CBDC bill, or crypto. You heard about crypto. It just passed, and I will have a news clip to back it up, because seeing is believing, hearing is also believing. So,
I had mentioned a few weeks ago that CBDC was something that was going to happen before the end of the year. Well, now they're implementing it, okay? And CBDC, what is it? Central Bank Digital Income. In other words, the money we have in our wallets, pockets, so forth, it's going to be worthless. Once they set up the CBDC, okay, they're going to ask you to take all your bills into the bank. There are going to be 6 banks, it's my understanding, central banks, okay? Yeah.
yes, central banks.
Yeah. Those central banks are basically going to handle the CBDC. And so if you want credit for your money, you need to take those bills. If you have any at home, take them in. They will basically change it on over to the CBDC. You're saying, why do they want to do that? Control. Why?
Big word, control.
Because once they have that set up, they basically tell you what they want you to do. If you don't listen, what happens? They just cut you off.
Revelation 13:14, Ralph. You shall buy, nor there will come a time where you shall not buy nor sell.
Yes.
And if not, you take that mark of the beast, etc., etc. CBDC means centralized digital banking currency. That's what it means. Okay. We're going to get right into the first. We have about 2 or 3 films, at least short as they are, that will explain these 15-minute cities concept. Here we go. First one.
Well, meanwhile, I was looking for that question. Why do we need cars? Why do we need cars? What do you use cars for? Transportation. And if you need to go to a certain store, you use your car. If you need to go buy some clothes in your or furniture to your regular supermarket, Walmart or whatever, you can go. But 15-minute cities says you can either ride to it, you can walk to it, or take a bus to it. So basically, and they have said, you won't need homes, you won't need cars, nobody will own anything, and they will be happy. So, I don't think, but they think. I don't think, we spend so much time paying for home, you know. I own a $400,000 home, or maybe a little bit more, and been paying it for a long time. And it's like, that won't belong to me. It's like, I paid for it, it should belong to me. But they're saying, you're not gonna need it. You're not gonna need it, They're gonna supply everything you need. And so that's how the control they have. And so we have to follow whatever the laws and rules they have in that city, because if you don't, you'll have no money, no access to money. Now, one of the things that is important for you to recognize the fact is that if you have gold or silver, that is something that you won't have to worry about as far as CBDC, because you'll be able to trade with that. So, any questions or comments? But you do have a home. Yeah. Exactly. And let me tell you. Yeah. So again, we're recording, by the way, so. Yeah. Okay, you want to repeat what you said?
Well, I was just saying that nowadays it's so hard for people to afford a home, so they may not be able to have one anyway.
Exactly. And cars are getting so expensive, and they're not wanting you to burn gas anymore. And so they're going to say, this is why the 15-minute cities. So you're beginning to see basically a system where they have control of everything. But one of the things, if you really want, is to have gold or silver or some precious stones or something to that effect, in order that you can trade with people so that you don't go hungry. They don't have to control you. And this is one of the reasons why Ellen White mentioned the fact that we should live outside of the cities.
Right.
We should live in the country.
There are also platforms where you can actually use a credit card to trade your gold. Exactly. To trade, if you have gold or silver, you can do that.
Interesting. Yep. Okay, sorry for the wait. We do have this film. It's ready now, and here we go. Let me put this. Okay, good.
Hey everybody. On this prophecy update, I want to talk about the aftermath of the LA wildfires. As you know, the LA wildfires burned over 40,000 acres in some of the most prime real estate in California. I think the death toll is up to 28 people, and there's estimations of $50 billion worth of damage. And one of the things I want to talk about and how this leads into prophecy is that many of the people that lived in these areas did not have fire insurance because, as I mentioned before, a lot of the insurance carriers would not insure people in California because California put out a stipulation to all the insurance companies that they can't raise the premiums. And so the insurance companies said, bye-bye, we're out of here, and they left California. And a lot of the people then didn't have insurance and will not be able to afford to build back their homes because no one just has that kind of cash, especially in that kind of area. And so, especially if they can't get insured. So what ends up happening? Well, obviously the Hollywood elites, they have plenty of money, they can rebuild or whatnot, but that's not the plan that's going to go down. Many of the people whose homes got burned didn't have insurance, they're not going to be able to replace their homes, they don't have the money to rebuild, and if they owed money to the bank and that mortgage is still outstanding, the bank will seize control of that. But what I think you're getting ready to watch is a massive land grab by the state of California, and how this leads into prophecy. What do you mean? We know from the World Economic Forum that they came out and said, you will own nothing and be happy. And they want to get into what we call a circular economy, that you don't own anything, you just rent things. And they're quickly bringing us to that point. And we have seen the pop-ups of 15-minute cities all over the globe. And California is no exception. And what Gavin Newsom came out and said sent me kind of a message of, oh, I now know what he wants to do. So he said in an interview saying that we're going to reimagine Los Angeles. We're Los Angeles 2.0, and we're going to bring in a Marshall Plan to redo LA. And what he was in effect saying, if you understand the concept of the 15-minute city and the concept that comes from you own nothing and be happy, that is exactly what Gavin Newsom is pushing. And so instead of these people going back into their residencies and rebuilding, what Gavin Newsom plans is to build 15-minute cities all through LA where the fires had burned people out. It was actually convenient for him that these fires happened in January with all these winds, and it was like the perfect storm and burned all these people out. It reminds me of what happened in Lahaina in Maui, where they were on prime real estate, the people that live in Maui, and they would never move. Some of those homes in Lahaina were there for decades upon decades, over 100 years, some of them going back to the 1800s, believe it or not, some of the historical places. And all of a sudden, gone. Poof, in an instant, gone. And those residents are not going to be able to build back. So the only people that would be able to control that area is either the state of Hawaii or multi-billion-dollar investors that can build 15-minute cities. Because it's kind of funny that the same thing that happened to Maui in Lahaina is the same thing that happened in LA. And again, it's convenient that they just burned everyone out. That the fires went crazy and just burned everyone out. There was no water. There was all kinds of problems. The fire department had been cut. We have incompetent people at the fire department, the head of the fire department. You had the incompetent mayor. You had incompetent everybody. The person checking the fire hydrants, totally incompetent. Perfect storm. But it did allow them to achieve their goal. And their goal, apparently, is LA 2.0. Marshall Plan to bring a 15-minute city, or basically all to that area. What other people also don't know is that Gavin Newsom has been behind the high-speed railway that comes from Sacramento and the Bay Area all the way down to LA, connecting LA and San Francisco. The two most liberal places on the state are going to be connected by high-speed rail that no one wants and costs billions and billions of dollars. And that high-speed rail goes right into LA where they're going to build these 15-minute cities. Now, if you're not aware of the 15-minute city concept, you need to check this out a little bit and do some research. But really, in the nutshell, the 15-minute city basically puts people in an area, in a concentrated area, in apartments, and it's kind of a stay, play, and work area that you don't leave. And you don't commute to work, you live where you work, and you go to school where you work. And it's like the ultimate control. People think, well, it's going to be convenient. It's not. It's taking away your liberties of movement. In some parts of Europe, you can't leave that 15-minute city more than 100 times a year. And so it's the ultimate control. And so what's going to happen is these super complex apartment buildings will get built, and in the middle of them will be the stores, the shops, the grocery stores, food, whatever, and they'll be able to work, stay, and play, so to speak, all in the same area. And it's really the ultimate control, and it really achieves you'll own nothing and be happy, because what California's doing, and it's going to go through the rest of the nation, is they're going to make the premiums on insurance and the affordability of homes so costly that the average middle-class person will not be able to afford it. The younger generation, I hate to tell you this, will not be able to afford to buy a house. They're not. They're going to have to rent for the rest of their life. That's how unaffordable things are in California. But you think, well, that's just in California. It's not in California. The concept of the 15-minute city is going to spread all over the nation if it's not stopped. That's what's happening all over Europe. That's what's happening all over the West. The concept came from the World Economic Forum, and the UN backs it up completely. And so anyone that's been trained by the globalist regime, like Gavin Newsom, or anyone else that had been trained by them, because Gavin Newsom was trained by Klaus Schwab, are going to try to implement the 15-minute city. And so what's getting ready to happen in LA is a rebuild, but it's not going to be of residents owning homes. It's going to be a 15-minute city with these massive apartment complexes to warehouse people in, concentrate them into urbanization, because they hate rural areas, because people in rural areas are harder to control. They have more freedom. And people that live in rural areas.
This is what Ellen G. White was at least mentioning, right, in Advent Home, to leave the cities. And you know, not all of us can do that per se, but she foretold and said that we need to get out, because when they do what they are doing to us, whether 15-minute cities or something else even greater, it will be too late. Right now, immigration issues are going on where they're picking up various people, even the innocent, even if you're a U.S. citizen, that's focused on that primary group. But what if then now the religious liberty side of it, Baptists, Adventists, you name it, but you know how the story will play out, then we will become just like them eventually. It's almost maybe they're testing us. It's a testing ground. You know, you never know.
As a matter of fact, I was going to go walking, and I was driving down the street, and there was this car, just a police car with lights flashing, and so I said, I'm not doing anything wrong, you know. So he passed me, and he looked at me and checked me out, and just kept going. Then he stopped at the next light, and he turned around and went back. Said, I guess he was wanting to see if I was illegal or something. You know, he was going to stop me. I said, wow, they're doing that. And then I found out that when I was getting back on the freeway, there was, I think, about 3 vans, you know, of the, what do you call those? That ICE, yeah, ICE, that were taking in, stopping cars and taking people into their vans. It's like, whoa, you know, it's unbelievable what they're doing nowadays. So imagine once the Sunday law, National Sunday law passes,
Right.
you know, basically they're going to be able to do just the same thing that they're doing now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Your neighbor will be saying, there, that person used to be a sabbatarian, or calls themselves a sabbatarian. There they are. You know, almost similar to COVID, because these are just stories and testimonies, but here's another one. So during COVID, I had my friend that returned from his country, and one of my coworkers, just out of the blue, and whether or not they're watching, but I'm not mentioning no names for online. But it's so funny how we treat each other, especially during the midst of the storm. But she was saying, hey, you just came back from your country. You shouldn't be at work. You should stay away for so many days. Now, mind you, this person is not a supervisor per se, but she was just trying to protect herself and well-being. Hey, you just came internationally. You should be, you know, screened and blah, 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 blah. And it was almost a slight fiasco. Of course, the other person felt harassed, or like, wait a minute, I returned through the U.S. If there was a problem with customs, then they would have told me otherwise. But, you know, he was able to return to work without any problems. But just think slightly how we can be fickle. Now we start tattletaling on each other to save our skin, you know, or something of that sort.
I took a vacation, and it used to be that it was a choice whether you wanted to have a picture taken or not. Now it's not a choice. They take your picture before you go through the checking. And I said, why do I need to take a picture? He says, you just have to. That's all there is to it. They didn't explain to me why. I just need to take a picture. I said, okay.
The ID card. They have the ID, the vaccine passports, and more things are coming down very quickly, because all of these things are going to be connected. They're not just doing them just to do them. They're all going to be interconnected like we use the internet. And now you won't need a driver's license. You have one ID card that tells your health condition, your doctor, where you live, how many times you traveled. Because I'm kind of maybe jumping a little further, Ralph, than the topic of 15 minutes it is, but it's all integrated. You will have a carbon credit score, not a credit score. Most of this stuff is based off of China, okay, the way China functions. And Trump and a few of them are realizing that China is 10 years ahead of us. They don't use cash. Like, what is that anymore? They use a phone, or these devices now, what I call it, Google Pay. I don't know what the iPhone says and use it, but you see people now swiping over the cash register and pick up their item or check out, and they don't. Say again, I didn't hear. Hold on, Sister Eva, so we can hear you.
Not everybody has a phone.
Okay.
So what do they do?
They don't care whether you have a phone or not. You know, we've talked about before digital income. You know what that means, right? Basically, the cash that we have in our pockets are going to be worthless. You know, I always used to think, why is Alan White mentioning the fact that $100 bill, $50 bill, they'll be flying in the streets, and they're going to be worthless. I didn't know how that was possible, but now I know. Digital income. Everybody's going to be on digital income, you know, and it's up to you, and I think it's going to happen before the year's over, okay, because something already passed on that, right?
Yeah, the crypto.
Yeah, crypto, yeah.
Crypto bill has been passed, and we'll look at that. Let's just finish this video really quickly here. And yeah, Sister Eva, it's not a complete answer for you. So those that do not have a phone, do not have a phone. You're right, and I've thought of that. But you will be forced in the system somehow, or you will be segregated. You'll be put in a different category until they deal with that circumstance. You know. It's just like you have what's that card, the welfare, EBT, right? EBT card. Now I think they're doing away with that because they're restructuring. Yeah,
Once again, they're basically going to set it up to where they're both off. So that's why the CBDC is being set up, you know, so that we don't have to deal with any currency or anything, and they can basically control every aspect of your life. And I hate to say this, but many people who are very wealthy because they have transactions with the United States and drugs and stuff like that. They're not going to have that a possibility anymore because the dollars that they were receiving are going to be worthless.
will be trackable. They will know what you want to buy. Actually, the way it works or will work, they will tell us what they want us to buy. Believe it or not. Because China functions that way. The people over there, they can't just drive and go buy bananas, and you know, they're told, they're given, this is how it will work as well. You'll be given a certain amount of money, not 10,000, but some form of money. If you don't use it, they zero right out. Yes. Yes. You will be under a carbon credit score, ESG. I know I'm throwing these things out there to you guys, but maybe one day, like I said, this session, it's almost like probably back in the days of Ellen G. White. I can't pull out of my head, but she was speaking these things. At first, she's a demon, no, she's sick, she has seizures, and she couldn't be, you know, connected with the spirit of prophecy. But we're watchmen. These things are happening, and that's why we put together this seminar, and we're just sharing you guys. I know I could be in your seat, and for whatever reason, They are just building a new world order for us. If you passed a red light or you didn't stop at certain points as you were driving here, then you don't get to receive so much in your credit score. Because cameras are everywhere. China has done it, even more so they're doing everything here, more cameras and things like that. But let's just finish this. I don't want to let the videos do the talking for us because timing is of essence. So we'll finish this one. There we go.
Think independently. They're not dependent on government. But if you're going to control a populace, you put them in a concentrated area, you put them in an urban area, and then you can control them. And then if you take away their guns, then you really have control. But that's what we're looking at, and that's part of Gavin Newsom's plan. And so prophetically, this goes to, controlling people. And we know that a one world government will control people. And the way to do it then is concentrate people in small areas and control them. So that's what they're going to do. There's not going to be free access to travel anywhere you want. They're already talking about that. Most of the countries in the world are now requiring visas to travel just for tourism. And eventually they're going to restrict travel to, quote unquote, save the planet. And oh, by the way, the 15-minute home is going to be sold to people as saving the planet because you're not going to have to drive your car and pollute the planet. All this nonsense, the green hoax that we all know about. But it's all to save the planet. And unfortunately, too many people think that that will save the planet. It's stupid. There's no such thing as saving the planet. God told Noah in Genesis 8:22 that nothing's going to change as far as the weather is concerned as long as God's in control. So that it's crazy. It's a lie. But people believe the lie. And so what we're looking to see is more control, not just the state of California, but this concept is growing. And it will happen to the entire nation eventually and to the entire world, to eventually the one world government will control everybody, control the buying and selling, where you live, what you can do, where you can go, and ultimately it'll turn into technology that will be able to track where you're buying and selling and where you're going by a biometric chip. That's where it goes. So that's a preview in LA about what's happening. And the funny thing about this is, and I don't mean to be conspiratorial, the perfect storm to push these people out and build a 15-minute city on prime real estate sure is funny that all came together at once. It sure is funny that there wasn't enough water. Sure is funny that that everything fell in place for the perfect firestorm to happen to move thousands upon thousands of people out of prime real estate area that would never have moved ever. And yet, now we have displaced, I think, over 200,000 people. 40,000 acres are now available for Gavin Newsom to build his 15-minute city. So that's our take on that. We'll see how things develop. But remember this, when you see these things begin to happen, look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption draws near. God bless you. We'll see you next time.
I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but when Nuisance, I call him Newsom, anyway, when he went to go see the burning and stuff like that, he was smiling. He was smiling. And he's saying, now I can build my 15-minute city. That's what he was saying.
You probably didn't catch some key connotations or words. Build back better. Biden, they would say these things, build back better. I'll just play a compilation, a simple, maybe 2-minute video. But they have been on a...
It's a very pertinent question to ask, how do we build back better?
To build back better or whatever.
We have a chance to reset the clock and build back better than before.
To build back better than before.
Remember the terrible damage of COVID as we try to build back from this global pandemic.
Joe Biden calls it Build Back Better.
Build back better.
Building back better.
To do things differently. To build back better.
We're going to build it back better.
And build it back better.
It's my plan to build back better.
start taking all the problems that have been created in education and mental health and start to build back in a positive way.
I have launched a booklet called Build Back Better, Britain After Coronavirus.
It's about building this country back better.
Growing conspiracy following it. It is called the Great Reset.
An unprecedented opportunity to rethink and reset the ways in which we live.
The great opportunity for reset.
The theory even calls Mr. Biden's campaign slogan, Build Back Better, a front for the conspiracy.
Build back better.
Building back better our economy.
Build back better.
All elements of the Great Reset are fundamental to building the future we need.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
It's a big effort to, some would say, to build back better. We would say to really have a greater.
While you're finding that, in the video he mentioned something about like the climate and how like the green initiative that we're seeing all around us is something that is, I guess he kind of cast it as something negative, and I've wondered about that myself. You know, what is the reason why everyone's pushing for that? And, well, I don't think at the end of the day I can definitively say why, although I do have suspicions. I think, I remembered a verse, and I just wanted to share it here. This is found in Isaiah 51. It says, "Lift up your eyes to the heavens, and look upon the earth beneath. For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment, and they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished." So, from a Christian perspective, it seems to me like there's this picture painted near the end of time where the earth is going to be getting old, wearing out. Things are not going to be working like they used to. Now, he did bring up the verse about how God did promise that seed time and harvest and these things are going to extend till the end of time, the promise given to Noah. But I'm just wondering if, as Christians, we should recognize that the earth is wearing out, and that maybe God has told us that the way things were 6,000 years ago when he first created the earth are not the same as they are today. I don't know if you guys have, maybe you guys have already commented on this, I'm not sure.
I think you're right in the sense that things are taking place today that basically is making what you just finished reading a big possibility. And you look at things that are happening around the world, okay? We see things that basically we know they're going to happen, but we can't control it, you know? Before you came, and before you three came, we talked about the fact that the problem that we're going to have is that none of us are going to be able to use our paper money anymore. It's going to be worthless. And I don't know, what was it, Thursday, was it?
About Thursday. Like I said, I have proof that the government has just passed a crypto bill. Elijah, you're from China or lived there. When you were there, what was the economy like? What was the exchange of currency? Cash. Okay. So what is the Duan? Duan. It was, okay. Yes, almost 10, 15 years back.
As a matter of fact, I'm trying to remember where I saw it, but they said that China had gone digital, basically, and the United States was following after. And so, lo and behold, this past Thursday, you said? Thursday. Yeah. They basically set it up to where, in the near future, digital is what we're going to use. Yeah, crypto. We're not going to, the dollar bill, we're going to have to cash it in order for us to have any kind of income, you might say. Of course, they're going to control all that. And that is the biggest problem. Control is what the United States wants, and they pretty much have it in their pocket.
Anyway, I'm going to use this last video to just finalize everything here. 19 minutes to go. We may just skip around it, but it's a very good one. This gentleman, he emphasizes crypto a lot, but he keeps his eye on current events, and he caught snippet of the 15-minute cities issue, and he really defined it. I don't know his name, but I was interested in crypto personally. It's 2020, I was interested in crypto. I think I introduced Ralph to something, maybe Sister Jiva at the time. You know, hey, because it was a new way of currency. I mean, I found myself where interesting. I was mining, guys, some of you mining, right? There's an app called Pi. All these people, it took me a while to kind of figure out, wait a minute, they are using us to test their new network. So what would happen, they have KYC, and I don't know if Elijah, if you've ever checked out the crypto, but after a while I felt like, you know what, no, I'm not going to participate, I'm not going to participate in something that, yes, it seems volatile money-wise. You know, wow, crypto, I'm getting these funds or building up funds to get some wealth here. But why do they need my facial recognition after a year, right, Ralph? We went through this. But we experienced this, Jiva, when we were talking about Pi, built by Stanford. Different people are creating these cryptos, but one of them was by Stanford, and the CEO is a computer engineer, and then he has a female that kind of does some marketing. So you just do mining on your phone. That's one of them. Very easy. You don't even have to pay for it, right? But I was a bit skeptical, because I'm a bit skeptical, and maybe that's a good thing for me. And I said, wait a minute. Now, for the money that a little bit of money that I built up, why is it now they say, you got to get Sister Jiva, Sister Amy. If you take a face print and you share this app, you can further enhance your friends and get them to join. And all around the world, and Pi has gone at least 10 million users or people that have signed up, but you have to KYC. KYC simply means what they say is know your customer. But really what it is, the DMV, I think, Timothy, if I could, not putting you on the spot, but you said digital ID, you did something. But everything is going where you travel now at the airport. And let me tell you, from a perspective, fear not. Because they cannot force all of us to comply, because some of us are going to be rebels. Yeah. Not because, God forbid, but he gives us the discernment to know something doesn't feel right, something doesn't smell right. So even if you go to the airport, and I'm just giving you tidbits because I researched this, we still have a constitution, as much as they're stripping it away. You do not have to go through that airport with a camera. They're setting these things up now where they have to take your picture. You still are, you have a driver's license, you have a passport. It recognizes you, it says that's you. But that's another test, because the digital, they have to get your facial biometrics, and they're sending that data to their cloud data or whatever in order to get our facial recognition, our face. They're even going to go further, I heard, with our bodies. Did we sign a paper for that? I could come in and say, I need your face. I need a facial recognition of your biometrics, your fingerprint, your eye. You cannot do that to people. We are not slaves. We're not hound dogs here. You have to ask people permission and sign these things off. But because you know what? Some of us, we don't read the things of the world. They got us where we're working day in, day out. We just have the blinkers on. And there are amendments, there are bills, and some of us don't understand our Constitution, don't understand the amendments that we live in this country called the United States. So you still don't have to. You can opt out. You just have to tell them, no, I don't want to go through that. You know why they do that too? Because going through the TSA and the airport, it's easier. It's easier. Oh, I don't have to use the old 3G phone. I don't have to use the dial-up phone where, you know, some of us who knew what rotary phones were. I really didn't care about these things. I'm a techie myself, but hello, Timothy, hello, Elijah, and bye. But this is what I mentioned, this is Star Trek. Computer, miniature as it is. It has a camera, it has a light. Sometimes, I'm doing some work under the car or something. Wow, I don't need a flashlight. Have you guys noticed, right? You got a flashlight here. The tools and mechanisms are right here. But who else is listening? Alexa, Siri. I am not going to encourage this. That's me as a technical perspective. I will not encourage this AI. I think my wife said, "Oh, you're crazy, but you still use the computer." It's in my heart and in my heart and my instinct. My instinct does tell me I know what's happening. I know how they use technology and what they're preparing it for, especially from a religious standpoint.
I was going to mention that I just came. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say there was a saying. It's been around for years now, but it has to do with like free apps, and they say if an app is free, you are the product.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I was going to say that I just came back from a trip visiting my daughter in Idaho, and before I went, this is in Ontario, he says, "You have to stand here." I said, "For what?" He said, "Take a picture." I said, "Why do I need to take a picture? I have a passport." And I showed him the passport. He says, "You still have to take a picture." He says, "What if I choose not to?" He says, "Well, then you don't get on the plane." That's all. So you have to. It's no choice, of whether you want to or not. I said, "Well, what are you going to do with the picture?" He says, "Let us worry about that."
What did he say, Ron?
Let us worry about that.
Interesting. And that's how they treat you. Well, you don't have to worry about that, but I need what we need from you. Anyway, you still didn't have to take that, but because of certain circumstances in our lives, we just go mosey on, and we haven't seen it yet. Because when you talk about the mark of the beast and these things, and those out there who are misguided, oh, the mark of the beast is a chip. I've had friends, I said, no, and I've learned, thanks to you and my fellow church members, I know what the mark of the beast is now. It's not a chip, it's not COVID, it's worship. Worship. What we worship. And the same thing that Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar, right, the story. So when they set this up, the National Sunday Law, and a lot of people said, oh, church, great, National Sunday Law, we're going to church. Trump will say, yes, the evangelicals want church, and they'll establish this. 2 billion plus people go to church on Sunday. It's so easy. We do it man's way or God's way. And then people won't understand that, isn't it? It's diabolical. Satan knows. Satan doesn't do anything from the time God has created this planet. He cannot create. And that's the one thing he hated when Christ brought us in, created Adam. The one thing he couldn't do was create. So he's not doing anything but counterfeiting everything God has established for us. And sometimes we get bamboozled by the simple fact. Christ says, if you love me, keep my commandments. It's an obedience test. This is not our home. We're just going through a period of testing here. So anybody else had any commentary? Not particularly good. Okay, we'll end with this, this final video that kind of wraps it up. Okay, and I hope it will make more sense to you guys, or you probably have a general understanding, but hopefully this will be much clearer for you.
15-minute cities, and presented this deceptive picture of Google search trends for the term as evidence. As you can clearly see, this search term wasn't popular until recently. More importantly, the recent spike in popularity is not due to widespread support, but widespread opposition to this controversial idea. Today, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about 15-minute cities, including who is behind them, where they're being tried, and why they're the exact opposite of what the WEF has advertised. As the name suggests, the idea of the 15-minute city is basically the belief that existing cities can and should be transformed and divided into districts where everything is available within 15 minutes of walking or cycling. This includes things like schools, hospitals, grocery stores, recreation facilities, and so on. Although this concept of having everything within arm's reach has been around for decades and was tried in places like the Soviet Union, the term 15-minute city was only coined in 2016 by Carlos Moreno. Now, Carlos is a Colombian-born city planner who's been teaching at French universities since the 1980s. In a TED Talk from January 2021, Carlos explained that his primary motivation for designing the 15-minute city was the climate. He also revealed that 15-minute cities would require a, quote, new economic model. But of course, the focus has been around the supposed human benefits it will bring. Now, what's interesting is that the concept of a 15-minute city didn't really take off until the start of the pandemic in early 2020. The story goes that city planners in Paris noticed that people would stay in their local areas because of the pandemic. This gave them the idea to try out Carlos's 15-minute concept in the city. The thing is that Anne Hidalgo, the mayor of Paris, was apparently planning on dividing the city into 15-minute districts months before the pandemic actually began. Doing so was actually part of her 2020 re-election campaign. Now, Carlos has also reportedly been advising Anne about the concept for years, if not longer. For context, Anne has been the mayor of Paris since 2014, and Carlos has been working on, quote, digital and sustainable smart cities since the early 2000s. Not surprisingly, Anne is a part of the WEF and has been a contributor to its global agenda. Surprisingly, Carlos is not part of the WEF, at least not yet. You can learn more about the WEF's global agenda using the link in the description. Now, when I say that the concept of a 15-minute city took off at the start of the pandemic, I don't mean that it became popular with the average person. I mean that it became popular with the WEF and other organizations that have been obsessed with achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. For those unfamiliar, the SDGs are a set of 17 goals created by the United Nations, which are supposed to be met by all member countries by 2030. Like the concept of 15-minute cities, the UN's SDGs appear to be benign or appealing, but in reality prescribe the creation of terrifying technologies like digital ID. If you watched our video about digital ID, you'll know that the UN's SDGs are being pushed by the public sector through regulations and by the private sector through ESG investing. The incentive for the public sector is more control of citizens, and for the private sector, well, it's profits, at least on paper. As far as I can tell, the push for 15-minute cities has come primarily from public institutions, probably because it won't be profitable for the private sector. In fact, this is likely why the concept didn't get much publicity until recently, and why private organizations like the WEF haven't been all that involved. Case in point, the WEF's only discussion about 15-minute cities occurred during the Sustainable Development Impact Summit in September 2021, which was co-hosted by the UN. It's actually in this discussion that the Mayor of Melbourne revealed that private sector support is lacking. Now this begs the question of which organisation is behind the 15-minute city push, and the answer is the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group, or C40 for short. According to Wikipedia, the C40 consists of 97 of the world's largest cities, accounting for 1/12 of the global population and 1/4 of the global economy. C40 was originally founded as C20 in 2005 by then London Mayor Ken Livingstone. What's wild is that the C20 merged with the Clinton Climate Initiative the following year to become the C40. The Clinton Climate Initiative has its roots in the Clinton Foundation. Let's leave it at that. Now, the C40 seems to have gained influence after the Paris Agreement of 2015, which was hosted by Anne. The C40 is currently headed by London Mayor Sadiq Khan, and its board of directors is headed by billionaire and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who owns Bloomberg News. In July 2020, the C40 published an article titled, quote, "How to Build Back Better with a 15-Minute City." Shortly afterwards, many of the 97 cities that are part of the C40 announced plans to radically transform themselves to fit the theoretical UN SDG-compliant city created by Carlos and his colleagues. In January last year, the C40 published another article which highlighted Barcelona, Bogota, Buenos Aires, Melbourne, Milan, Paris and Portland as a few of the first movers. Obviously, radically transforming a city in this way isn't cheap. That's why the C40 announced that it had partnered with NREP to pilot the 15-minute city concept in, quote, at least 5 unnamed cities in September last year. Now, NREP is a Danish urban investment firm with $19 billion in assets under management. That may not sound like much, but it's growing very fast. Not only that, but NREP owns, quote, 7 million square meters of real estate across Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Norway and Poland, and has committed to achieving a net zero real estate portfolio by 2028. To that end, NREP has received no shortage of funding from mostly unnamed institutional investors. For anyone wondering, NREP's website notes that it is, quote, majority owned by senior partners and backed by Novo Holdings as the largest individual owner. Novo Holdings is 100% owned by and generates returns to the Novo Nordisk Foundation, one of the largest charitable foundations. I should also note that this 15-minute city pilot is not a two-organisation show. The C40 NREP partnership announcement notes that the pilot includes 2 additional strategic partners, which are, you guessed it, the UN and Carlos. They all hope that the results of the pilot will be applied internationally. So, this brings me to the reason why search trends for 15-minute city have gone parabolic over the last few months. You'll notice that this rally began in mid-November. This is because of the final plans for a 15-minute city pilot that were published by Oxfordshire County Council with the support of Oxford City Council in the UK in mid-November. These plans took the internet by storm because they revealed the reality of what the WEF, the C40, NREP and others had advertised about 15-minute cities. In theory, 15-minute cities are supposed to make life easier and healthier while simultaneously improving the environment and the community. In practice, 15-minute cities mean setting up cameras everywhere to keep track of where everyone is driving to ensure that they do not leave their designated district too frequently. In the case of Oxford, these boundaries will be enforced through traffic filters that will automatically issue fines to violating vehicles. The pilot is tentatively scheduled for the start of 2024, and it will see the city of Oxford divided into 6 districts. Those living in a particular area will be allowed to drive into other districts up to 100 times a year. After that, fines get issued. Now this sounds like a lot until you realise that many people need to drive through several districts to commute to work. The council addressed these concerns by saying that commuters could just use the ring roads outside of the main city. The community responded by pointing out that this would take a lot more time and cause a lot more pollution, and reducing pollution and car use is supposedly the purpose of the pilot. To add insult to injury, the council outright ignored the public comments it received during the consultation period for the pilot, which lasted from early October to mid-November. 93% of the 4,814 comments it received were opposed to the pilot for multiple reasons, with only 7% supporting it. Now, rather than acknowledge that the pilot was extremely unpopular, the council doubled down on its 15-minute city obsession. It dismissed all critics as conspiracy theorists and went as far as collaborating with social media platforms to fact-check and censor every possible criticism. More about social media censorship in the description. Now, when the people of Oxford pushed back, the council contacted the mainstream media, which published articles about how council members were being abused for trying to save the planet. Naturally, of course, some goons did feel that council members merited threats for their stance, which is never acceptable, of course. The council also started posting FAQs, which didn't actually answer the questions being asked. It also stated that the 93% opposition statistic was fake news because only 8% of people said they were opposed, whereas the rest gave specific reasons for why they were opposed. The latter somehow don't count. The worst thing is that the council continues to post articles linking to fact-checking websites and presumably plans on going ahead with the pilot come hell or high water. Meanwhile, the people of Oxford have continued to push back. And it's not just Oxford anymore either. Almost every video I watched about 15-minute cities had no shortage of criticism in the comments section. What's messed up is that you don't notice this opposition unless you scroll down, because YouTube removed all the dislikes. So here are a few of the gems I found in these comment sections. Quote, "What you're describing is a village. There's no need to turn the city into a dystopia to achieve what you want. This proves that it's total control that you really want." Quote, "A crime against freedom and thus humanity." Quote, "The part they're leaving out is that you're not allowed to go more than 15 minutes away from home." Quote, "It's all about controlling the little people while the rich fly everywhere." And my personal favourite, quote, "This assumes that we will all be forcibly moved into cities. I do not accept that." Now, make no mistake, these criticisms are valid, and they are truly the tip of the iceberg. Some of the biggest criticisms have come from within the 15-minute city movement itself. One area of issue has been segregation. Dividing cities into districts will guarantee that the poor stay poor and the rich stay rich. Some would say that's the entire purpose of the plan. This seems to be more than speculation because during the WEF's aforementioned discussion about 15-minute cities, the panelists discussed how different cities will have different rules for different districts. In other words, the rich will remain free. The most enraging part of it all is that the UN and all the other unaccountable and unelected institutions involved have repeatedly claimed that 15-minute cities will somehow make existing cities decentralized. This is patently false because districts in 15-minute cities will be close together and centrally controlled. But back to that last critical YouTube comment, the implicit assumption that everyone will end up in cities. Now, the UN has projected that 80% of people will live in cities by 2050. The UN is concerned that this will lead to an unsustainable increase in consumption. Controlling this consumption seems to be the primary motivation here, and it's arguably guaranteed that the people living in some districts will be able to consume more than others. The catch is that the UN's consumption projection also assumes that the population will grow by 2.5 billion people by 2050. If you watched our video about population decline, you'll know that the global population is not growing nearly as quickly as the UN is projecting. Moreover, the UN's assumption that people will move to cities was disproven during the pandemic. Millions of people moved to rural areas thanks to remote work. This is yet another nugget of evidence which suggests that 15-minute cities have absolutely nothing to do with the environment nor the average person's quality of life. As that one YouTube critic pointed out, everything that 15-minute cities claim to want to do is already being done in towns and villages. Populations being geographically spread out into communities is the true definition of decentralization, and it's also one of the ways that people can avoid falling into this 15-minute fever dream. If a community can secure its own food, water, shelter, and companionship, well then, its people won't need others to tell them how to live. Now, the 15-minute cities being sold look a lot like an excuse for more control. This ties into something I'm sure many of you are wondering, and that's whether the C40 will succeed in rolling out 15-minute cities. Well, I'll start by saying that I'm sure the pilots will be declared successful. To be clear, I'm not saying that the pilots will actually be successful, just that they will be declared successful by the C40 and whichever cities the pilots are tried in. As we've seen with Oxford, the people planning this aren't concerned with the objective results, nor the opinions of the people on the ground. So, when the pilots inevitably are declared a success, we will immediately see almost every major city around the world start to carve itself up into 15-minute districts. This will be met with extreme resistance from residents, but this resistance will not be publicised, and all opposition will be censored. At this point, many city dwellers, those with the means at any rate, will likely decide to move to rural areas to retain their freedom. The response from the central planners will be to declare that living in rural areas is bad for the environment and will introduce all manner of taxes, restrictions, anything they need to do to force people back into cities. Now, once most of the population has been forced into cities, the next order of business will be to make everyone as reliant on the government as possible to ensure compliance. This will again be done by any means necessary, and recent events suggest that successive crises of some kind will be the solution. Once everyone has a digital ID that's linked to their wallets and internet activity, the population will be suitably pliable, and all in the name of the environment. Now, I want to say that this is some huge conspiracy, but the more that I research this stuff, the harder it becomes to look away from the truth. The silver lining is that these 15-minute cities are doomed to fail. As Oxford has shown, when these entities try to exercise control at a local level, people notice and they immediately resist. Because there will always be more of us than there are of them, and they will eventually succumb to this resistance. Now, this is something the people in power are aware of, which is why they're so obsessed with digitizing everything. They know they will never have the manpower to maintain control, so the only solution is to make us all reliant on hardware and software which they can control, and people are starting to notice that too. Now consider that the same manpower principle applies when we're talking about hardware and software. Sure, these tech companies have hundreds of thousands of talented employees and access to endless resources, but there are millions of rogue developers and hardware enthusiasts out there. That's why I know that central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, will fail. Anyone who knows how to build crypto-related tech can make way more money in cryptocurrency. Never mind that the types of people who make revolutionary software and hardware are often motivated by more than money. To top it all off, centralized systems are inherently unstable, regardless of whether they're digital or physical. An easy way to visualize this is to imagine stacking a pile of coins. The higher that tower of coins becomes, the easier it is for something to come along and knock it down. It's a natural law of sorts. What this means is that even if 15-minute cities succeed, they'll not last for very long. Hopefully, other cities will see this and stop their shenanigans. Ideally, they'll never get off the ground to begin with. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that the people in power will have to learn this lesson the hard way.
Any comments? Thoughts? Imaginations? It's fake. This is fake media.
I'm curious because when I first learned about cryptocurrencies and the technology like blockchain, that one of the reasons why people go into that is because it's something that is so decentralized that no government can control all of that.
the same way.
And even the Russian president recently said the same thing. He said that nobody can control that. So I don't know. And going along with what this person is talking about, it sounds like there's like people will resist, and like all the concept of centralization is inherently unstable. Is he making a case to say that that governments are going to fail at this endeavor? I don't know.
All I can say is that, we know that because prophecy has foretold that there are going to be certain things that'll happen, and this is why we are warned by the spirit of prophecy to move out of the cities. There's reason for that, and so I believe, and according to Doug Batchelor, the time is now. It's now. It's not tomorrow. It's now. We need to move out of the big cities. And I don't know that we can consider San Bernardino a big city, or, whichever city you live in. But I think that even the small cities are going to be rough as time goes by and things get rougher, let's put it that way, because we look at things and we see things, and it's like, how much worse can it get? When people are basically driving in the freeway and they stop all the freeway in order to get to some people. That, I think, is ridiculous, but we're seeing that. We're seeing that. The thing that happened in Los Angeles, where the governor decided to sue the president because he had no right to send in a military against the people of the United States. So there are things that are happening in today's world that it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. And we know it's going to get worse. And the reason we present these programs is for you to be aware, and take whatever position you want to take in the circumstances that are happening in today's world. But I dare say that if and so things get as bad as is mentioned in the spirit of prophecy and that Doug Batchelor mentions, I think we need to start looking even where we live at, if it's not best to consider and reconsider whether we want to continue there. And it may happen a year from now. It may happen 2 years from now. We don't know. But once again, it was something that I felt, and so I mentioned it, and I said, digital income is going to happen before the end of this year. It's going to happen, and it's happening now.
Actually, let me point them to a little bit of evidence that are in that direction. Record or I watch. It's like cable news, but anyway, it's another story. This just, I believe, took place Friday or Thursday this week.
Patrick
Let me just back it up a little bit.
The financial system, and so it's a real concern.
In contrast to concerns about the technology, the head of legal and government affairs at TRM Labs, Ari Redbord, says the advancement of AI may benefit our law enforcement efforts as well.
The entire criminal ecosystem is shifting. That is why today's hearing matters. We must recognize that in the same way criminals are leveraging AI to disrupt and deceive, law enforcement and national security agencies must be empowered to use AI to defend. The solution to the criminal abuse of AI.
We want to take you to some GOP lawmakers talking on the passing of the CDBC bill. Let's listen in.
The members here, led by Whip Emmer, our colleague from Ohio, Warren Davidson, former chair, Patrick McHenry, that really set the stage for the success that we're having today. So it is not an overnight success. It's the result of hard work by staff and members on both sides of the aisle. The second old expression is that when you have that shot of unified government, where the Senate, the House, and the White House are in the same political party, you have that rare opportunity to do big things. And this also is successful because, as Whip Emmer said, of the exceptional leadership from President Trump that wants fintech, digital asset innovation here at home as a part of his strategy to make America great again by bringing capital back here, pursuing innovation here, and leading in digital payments, just as we have for decades in global capital markets and in finance generally. So I have to say we're off to a really great start. And what an amazing set of partners I have with Brian Stile and Dusty Johnson and GT. And I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart of what a great partnership it's been. And to my friends over in the Senate, thanks for doing some work.
Now supporting crypto. So before all of this, I believe in April, I heard Mr. Trump state that we're going to have stable coins or go cashless. You know, I was trying to follow some of this crypto. I heard about Ethereum and so forth. If you guys, actually, you're my brethren, if you still can, it will not be Bitcoin. There's a friend at work has been watching this since 2009, and God bless his heart. It will not be Bitcoin. You know what the government does? They'll say, oh, it's this here, right? They'll say, this is this Bitcoin. Okay, this one is blowing up. But the government doesn't, they get you distracted this side. What they are really going to be using is called XRP. XRP, and I think my friend there, he's saying that Elon Musk, X, because of Twitter, what is it, X? Elon Musk comes out with X instead of Twitter. I believe Elon Musk has control of XRP, but XRP will be actually the new carpeting, the new banking slate. Because the way this crypto works, they have these different Ethereum, Doge, you name them. But XRP is more connected with the banks. And I wouldn't have known that. I had a doctor tell me, actually through my coworker, because he really is into this crypto. It's crazy. It's XRP that's going to be the platform. But if you don't know that, the government will be using that side. And then over here, you're invested in this. Oh, this won't be nothing. It will fail when they should have been this side. So I just, if you are interested, or maybe God's will on you and your finances and your family, it will be XRP.
Sorry, is XRP expected to become a stable coin? Is that what you mean, or?
I'm not sure, Timothy, but what Trump said, he wants stablecoin to be the crypto bill or the crypto investment that we're going to. Stablecoins was also another one that talked about, that USTD. I remember when I was involved with this stuff, USTD was like a penny. Like nobody thought that was going to be the actual value of anything. And stablecoins was just nothing. But I believe they're shifting gears and going to use stablecoins from the private sector. Almost Trump doesn't want to say that he does it, because remember, he did not support crypto. If you caught wind of it when he's in his first term, Mr. Trump didn't think crypto was something the United States should value. You know, like I said, he doesn't have control. He's got people in the back that we don't see daily and tell him, hey, you're going to go this way or else. So he probably doesn't, he's going to have a private sector company manage this transition, in other words, yeah. But, yep, I wasn't quite shocked. I'm like, Lord is coming more and more. It's just the evidence of things seen and unseen. So, I don't have anything else further on this. The only thing is our next topic and seminar will be on the WEF, and we're going to pretty much probably end our series. I mean, we probably could go back in time in September or October. We would like to bring this medium possibly to other churches, but we'll have to streamline it better, get our material together, more in a concise way. But I think we could do some of this evangelistically. It's a wild. I don't think many churches would probably accept us in this, but hey, and probably maybe it's interesting to others out there, because this is just sharing, waking people up. Hey, we're the farm animals to them, and they're building a fence around us, and some of us don't realize that the doors are, embarging on us, and it's not fair. Let me tell you something. I believe you all are strong in your faith, or working on it, and continually. And remember, this is what keeps me going, Ralph, because the Lord never fails. He never misses a promise. And he says, during the time of fear and so forth, he has got us. I verbally, I'm not biblical on the standard, but the Lord has got his people in his hands. Yes, we were talking in Sabbath school, you said rough start. But through that rough start, we give him hope. The battle is not ours. This is not between you and I, flesh and blood. We're dealing with Satan and his minions. Right there in Rome, it's just things linking up to Rome. Rome has all this exclusivity. When Pope Francis was around, he asked Mark Zuckerberg to get him integrated on the internet because he didn't know how to get on Facebook. And Rome has control of the banking system. The Federal Reserve is not the United States Bank. We have these videos. It's so amazing. When I met Ralph and we sat down, we know the Jesuits are behind this stuff. I hate to say it, a lot of things, and it goes right back to them, and everything is by design, and they say it in their mantra. Immigration is one of their things that they are going to use to inculcate or usurp the United States. They need to get rid of the Bible and the Constitution. And look where we are in the country with immigration. I don't know, Amy, we watched it in the back room, but when I revisited that video, it's about an hour. Ellen G. White mentioned them. That's where I knew I'm onto something. Like, she was in that video and mentioned them. Abraham Lincoln, JFK was assassinated. The whole story, the Titanic, it's not what we thought. You have to watch it. It was a coadjutor, a Vatican or a Catholic coadjutor, Jesuit, that was told to sink the ship because back in the day, 1913, when they developed the IRS or the tax code, most of the big wigs were not in favor of this bank. They were on vacation, so they did not get to discuss this issue properly. So what did they do? They decided to build a ship in Belfast for the rich, generally, to come on board, right? J.P. Morgan was supposed to be on there, but he decided to take his stuff off. Somehow he decided not to sail. So that's the story. It's a video in itself, historically. Some Seventh-day Adventist supporters are there as well. There's a book called The Secret Terrorist by Pastor Bill Hughes, one of our Seventh-day Adventists, but he does, pastors. He does not really speak out as much. He has a website, but he has other people that's running it for him. He has this book, The Secret Terrorist, distributed to 1 or 2 members. It's just fascinating to me that most of the time, Jesuits are in our camp. They're in our schools. They're teaching us things based on them. Yale University, if you don't know, I'm sorry, I don't care. They want to take me out. I keep saying it. Go ahead. The Father's got me. I'm on to truth. Most of these leaders, these people don't know anything. I'm talking. I'm sorry, Timothy. I'm speaking, pointing to our leadership and so forth. They are just puppets. No. Well, yes, because we not really. Oh, well, guys, we are infiltrated again. Rome wants the first beast wants control of the second beast. We have a new pope. what is this Pope? And you know, remember now, we're not against Catholics, but the system of Catholicism has an issue, and we know its history, and she will not change. She will usurp and take her time, and the Jesuits are very good at that. They're very patient.
I was going to ask, what does the Pope want to get rid of in the United States? What is something that he really hates in the United States? Church and state? Separation of church and state, yes. And there's, yeah. Of course, the Protestants, they've always wanted to destroy them. But I believe one of the things that the Catholic Church wants to do away with is what we're saying, separation of church and state. They believe that we should work together. And, of course, we know that once the church succumbs to the state, basically, they're going to take control, and they're going to be able to do what they have always wanted to do, and that's destroy the Constitution. You know, it's interesting. I thought it was rather interesting that Trump basically has a Bible. You know the Bible, right, that Trump has?
Yes, you caught wind of that too. Right.
Exactly.
How blasphemy. Yes.
Oh, he is an evangelical.
But what?
Let me say, he's got the evangelicals in his pocket. You know, basically, what he wants to do, he just talks to them and makes sure that they do what he wants them to do. And it's just, to me, interesting that all that Trump has been doing, basically the Pope is behind it. I didn't know if you knew that or not, but the Pope is behind. He's basically, let's put it this way, the Pope and Trump are together. Yeah, they're inseparable.
All have to kiss the ring of the Pope or the Legion.
And I noticed that you know, a lot of people are saying "Build Back Better." "Make America Great Again" sounds very similar to that.
Very well. You know, you have to catch on to buzzwords.
Yeah.
I'll stop because you'll get me to go too far. Because so much things are symbolic in our Hollywood, if you're aware, right? Some of the entertainers. You don't make $1 million singing great or playing an instrument. You sell your soul, you sell your body. But they don't know that. I'm going to make $1 million. It's all exciting. They're young and, you know, we're just not thinking because generally we don't develop our whole thinking or what you call it, hypothalamus. A person is not fully developing their thinking till about age 30, 33. So sometimes we still, generally, you know, I've studied some of this, but we are not fully developing our thinking wisely till about 30 and so forth. We make mistakes and we go along, but catch us when we're young. We think nobody can stop us, you know, type of thing. So, no, you want to sign a contract. Everything is a contract, right? And behind that contract, sometimes they don't read it. Some musicians and artists have lost their lives, lost their livelihood because, oh, they've been cheating me out of this. Oh, I didn't know I have to go put on a bikini or put on some, wear Adidas, and how many times I have to visit this place. They own you until they leave you into dust. And that's the devil's playground, Hollywood. Oh, brother, don't get me started. You know, yes. That's another story. Very, very deep, actually. Very deep, and it's sad. You know, the immigrants that come about, where are the children? 650 children. I have a video on all this. I have these videos. Most of them they will not have on YouTube, but I kept them. I wanted to share one of them with the church, Ralph. We watched it because the children alone are suffering. Okay, there's a movie called Sound of Freedom. Hollywood would not put that out. It was an independent director that produced it in 2017. My son and I took him to watch a film. I think it was a good film, recommended it. I almost got a couple tears there. Just, you know, I'm like, sad. True story. The governments know about the sex trafficking, FBI, so forth. That's why this Epstein, and I don't know what it is with these people. God help us all. We all, sinners as it is, but they have the money, but they are off on these children, adults. Go make a relationship with the adults. What is it with these kids? And they move them in containers like produce. Go watch Sound of Freedom.
Like cattle.
It's no joke. That's the real stuff. And who is taking care of them? It's money. It's global trade.
It's just horrible. The things that they show with those young ladies, they take them to different countries. They take them to different countries, and they basically sell them off. And they don't care who they sell them off to. They're just people who have money, and they want to buy them, and so they push them. But as far as treating them as human beings, they don't. They just treat them as bad as they want, and what are the kids going to do? A lot of the people, a lot of the kids, should I say, that were coming from Mexico, a lot of, I think it was into the 6,000, okay, of the kids that came across from Mexico into the United States were taken and sold. Unbelievable.
Anyway, now with this spear, each one of you have your hopes, and we should. Above all else, so the title of our message, and why I chose it as such, and part of it was Sister Amy. It's not my thing, but thank you. Prophecy unfolding. But I had this theme too, above all else, and what I meant by that, nothing will overthrow or counteract our Jesus Christ, because he is the first and only creator. So above all else, prophecy unfolding, and we look up to him no matter what. Read your Bible. Get with others that are like-minded. Get right. It's not that we're going to be sinless when he comes, but he knows your heart. Get that connection with Jesus Christ, because look at this. This doesn't have to be a full church program. It doesn't have to be exciting, but just like Sabbath school, where are the people? What happened when COVID happened? The churches became empty. Oh, okay, so they might be watching from online. But I can't hug you through the screen. I can't give you a testimony truly. As we sit here, this is more exciting. But anytime there's trouble, or a fire, or a bomb, or something ominous out of our escape, we want to huddle together, and the pews will be filled. It happened during 9/11. I think it happened partly during COVID, but then again we had to 6 feet apart and all this stuff. Ridiculous. $50,000 to take the vaccine. I heard it. Don't know if you guys picked. In Governor Newsom, in about 2020, 2021, Governor Newsom, there were so many different issues. You have to take the vaccine. The 2-piece, yeah. Drink a beer. Take you Vegas. There were so many different things that got my antennas going. Like, wait a minute. Generally I'm healthy. I don't really take the flu shot. Nothing to anybody. But at work, you have to wear the mask, sir, every year, right? No problem. I'll wear my mask. But when the COVID happened, all of you were wearing masks. What's the big deal now? Oh, you have to get the shot, sir, or else you won't have a job. I'm like, if I don't want a shot, though, it still seemed like the same thing, like you're conjuring up this flu thing. I personally don't want it. Oh, you're making us sick. Well, wait a minute, didn't you get the shot? So you're supposed to be healthier than me. I'm going to die. Critical thinking. Discernment. But to each his own. I'm not your God. You have to realize your connection with Christ. And some of us had to do what we had to do. You pray about it, and may God seal that emphasis where you're healthy and you make it. It's Jesus Christ and your relationship with him.
I was going to say that I have a friend who works in a hospital. He is a physician's assistant. Okay, during COVID, I think he said about 75% of the people that didn't come back, they were 65 and older. Okay? Why they wanted to get rid of old people, I don't know. But the thing he also said is that every person that died, the parents or the relatives didn't get to see him. They burned him. They burned him. And also he said that the people who basically went in for a gunshot wound or something, COVID. Everything was COVID.
So true.
And they paid
13,000 at my hospital. For one case,
Yeah.
it was $13,000 that they paid the hospital if they came up with cases.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so he was saying that they paid
Yeah.
36.
I work for the state. The mental. No, it's okay. I won't really mention just per se. But
I sort of remember, but I don't remember the name of where my friend works. But anyway, he said that he saw people who had gunshot wounds and stuff like that. COVID. Everything was COVID. And they were getting $3,600 for each one that died.
Yep. I
You
have
know,
friends.
unbelievable. It was just like treating human beings like animals, you know. And it's like, I don't know if it's going. They say there's going to be another one coming in. That's supposed to be 3 times
Disease
worse.
X.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, the WHO. Oh, the WHO this time will say countries will not have determination into how they will manage the next pandemic. The WHO, if they get their wish, which I think Trump is not funding them anyway, they will tell us how to, to be on lockdown. Every country. So that's a lot of power from one entity or WHO. You know, these people are cynical. Timothy.
I just wanted to say that. Oh, I just wanted to say that at least, I understand, different systems may be corrupt in terms of how they want to get money or whatever. But, I also don't want people to think that, COVID wasn't serious because, I was an ICU nurse working in COVID, and we were swamped, inundated with so many patients who caught COVID. And the time when the vaccines were able to be taken, we were still getting a lot of patients, and when we could see the vaccination status of the patients in the ICU who were on ventilators, and or about to be on ventilators, and the vaccination status, all of them, almost all of them were unvaccinated. There were a couple people who were vaccinated, but they were immunocompromised, and if you're immunocompromised, you're not going to get your body's immune system is not going to react to the vaccine in the same way that someone with a normal immune system would be. So I just don't, I don't want it to be like, oh, everyone who was COVID was not COVID.
Yeah, a lot of them that were, according to my friend, a lot of them that were saying it was COVID, it wasn't really COVID. They were there for a stomach problem or something, and they always claimed that it was COVID. And so they never came out. Basically, they died in the ventilator, and then they were sent into the fire chamber. But the important thing is that they basically did what they wanted to do, and they got paid handsomely for it.
We're still masking. Well, what is it? We still have a unit where we're still masking, or we're still talking about COVID or flu, influenza B. Influenza B, guys, when we have flu, we're quarantining some of these patients, but I think we just cut it off 2 months ago because there's no more funding. We were still quarantining. Your hospital is not doing it, I don't think, Amy, but we were. When we do, we put the patients over there because most of it was still some money federal.
What do you say?
Isolation.
Isolation. Oh, you mean like an isolation patient?
Yes.
Oh, we've always done that.
PUI, PC, potential off.
Oh, patient under investigation.
Yes.
Yeah, we've always done that though. Anytime someone has a contagious illness, they're automatically isolation.
Makes sense. But in a way, it is still being open for speculation.
And then we did that even before COVID. We would
correct.
Yeah, so if someone was
Correct.
they might have the flu because they're having symptoms.
Right.
And then so we would be automatically isolation. We'll wear mask. If it's indicated to wear gown, we wear gown too until we get the result.
Right.
And if the result says that they, whatever it is they have, then we isolate them for whatever that particular virus or whatever they have is. We isolate them for that.
But it wasn't fail-safe. I had a doctor that was so buttoned up like a jelly bean or your soul. She was buttoned up. She was the first one on my unit that got it. So that doesn't work. You want to really stop it, you have to wear a military-grade P100 mask. Now, the P100, it will stop the virus. I mean, placate like biological, the military grade. Whatever inside it stops it, but from the outside is different. You really want to stop something. A mask of a micron, 0.something microns of a virus is not going to work with a paper mask. It will help. I hate to say it, but do what you have to do. I'm not going to go for the thing that said you're resistant. I wore it, but I can't wear that N95. Honestly, we had to always test, and I'm losing, and I'm getting carbon dioxide. God made us where we're supposed to breathe oxygen, not for 8 hours. Sir, we had this stuff on for 8 hours. Commonsensically and thinking, I'm going to be breathing more carbon dioxide. I'm thinning out. I'm going to be losing oxygen. That doesn't make sense.
I remember I did a 24-hour shift, forced to be 24 hours. It was supposed to be 12, but it became 24 hours when I was in COVID. So I had that mask on for like 24 hours.
24/7.
So, for that particular shift. Well, I was just tired just because I was awake for that long. Yeah. But yeah, that was tough. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard of Roger Schwelt. He's a doctor. He actually works at Loma Linda. He's quadruple board certified, and he's an intensivist too. So I saw his updates throughout the pandemic about because he was doing surveillance, and he was looking at all of the data. So one thing he advocated for, because he said there's no one thing that is gonna absolutely 100% guaranteed to prevent you from getting sick.
Exactly.
But he advocated for the Swiss cheese model, which is basically you have one layer of an intervention, then you have another layer of an intervention. The more interventions you do, the more likely you are not to get sick. And that could apply to any illness, any disease.
Right.
But he said for COVID, okay, you could wear a mask, you can wear a stronger mask, you can limit the certain types of activities you do if they're not necessary. And if it's, limit your gatherings of so many people at once to limit the likelihood of a super spreader event. You can get sunlight, get fresh air, make sure
Remember they were keeping us from the beach?
Yeah. So that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then you make sure you're getting your vitamins and nutrients.
Immune system, brother.
Yeah.
Immune system.
Immune system.
Now I tell you.
And the health message.
Yeah. Now I tell you, respectfully, and I said it once, and simply, and we're going to close. God created us perfectly, blood, everything. I think even I heard our eyes. AI has a hard time duplicating this. It's so special, right? So what God created, and respect to doctors and the scientists and them out there. But if we eat right, and we did what God said, no drink, smoking, this and that, they come up with their solution and their vaccine and this and that. Is it better than God's way?
No. And
I hate to say that. I know a doctor will say, get this guy out of here. I'm sorry. I'm thinking.
If our country, and I was thinking about this during COVID, because Japan, they weren't as strict.
Yes.
They weren't as strict as
Sweden
the United
and
States.
Japan, yes.
And in Japan, of course, I learned recently that the entire country of Japan is now a blue zone, not just Okinawa.
Yeah.
So Japan, if all of the United States were like Loma Linda or like Japan, then the pandemic would not be a problem in the first place.
There you go.
As a matter of fact, I'm sorry, did you finish? Okay. As a matter of fact, this person mentioned that if we were just when they got COVID or whatever, if they were just go outside, get plenty of sunshine, plenty of fresh air, okay? Eat properly. That's all you needed to do to fight the COVID, you know? But I dare say that of those who got the shot, the flu shot, the COVID shot, 75% of them died. That was supposed to be helpful, and this came out through statistics. I don't remember right now the statistics of who was the one that made the statistics, but 75% of the people who took the COVID died. 75%. What do you mean, which group? All of the people who took the COVID shot, 75% of them died.
There's an issue going on. They're well-noted doctors.
I'm sorry? I would like to go search it out because it's been a while since I've searched it out, you know.
Because where I work, we were mandated to get vaccinated, and I got the vaccine before it became popular because of my, the place that I was working in. But I don't know anybody who got the vaccine who died, except for the patients who are immunocompromised and they caught COVID and their body couldn't.
Now, I don't know if there were people who were nurses or doctors or whatever got it. I don't know. Just said 75% of the people who got shot, and I think it was. I would be lying to you if I were to say, but I thought it had come from the.
Because the other thing is a significant chunk of the American population got vaccinated. I know 75% of the population didn't, or 75% of half the population didn't die. Yeah, they didn't die from that.
Right.
But maybe a certain amount of people caught COVID eventually, but not die.
You know, on VAERS, right? We can go publicly and go look on any vaccine. There's a public entity called VAERS. You want to sue a pharmaceutical company, you're wasting your time, but there's a vaccine court, right? My mother took it, and I said, Mom, actually it was something else. We didn't want her to get it, but family-wise, it went out to where, hey, we might be giving her neglect. We kind of maybe neglecting her. So anyway, we got her to get it, but I said, Mom, look at this. And she's a nurse, was a nurse for how many years? I said, Mom, myocarditis, this and that, right? Side effects to that drugs, that's why I'm saying the natural way. Anyway, so if anything happens to you, medication-wise, with whatever you take, that's on you. The vaccine companies are going to wipe their hands. If anything happens to me on the job and they took the vaccine, basically, they're not going to cover. You cannot sue them. You took it and they warned you, this, that, and the other. You see these commercials, it's on you. That's why I would rather, you know what, I'm ready to die. Father, if, this is how bold I am somewhat, but I'm not saying I'm better than nobody. If I'm going to die, Lord, take me now. But I'm here. I'm doing this message and more or whatever, but God is using me. So if you want to take me, it's my choice, my liberty of conscience to die. Then go ahead. I'm not saying it's suicide. Then take me, Lord. But I'm still here. I'm trying. I barely eat well, doing what I have to do. It's not my time then.
As a
but
Christian,
liberty of conscience. Sorry.
As a Christian, I believe if I live for God. If I die, I hope to die in Christ.
Amen.
That's the most important thing for me.
Amen.
Everything else doesn't matter.
These bozos.
Yeah, and so whether you take the shot or not take the shot, that depends upon each individual. But I do know they were putting stuff into the serum that wasn't supposed to be.
We have it. I have those videos from Senator Johnson. Doctors, very good doctors, lost their license. I'm going to stop in about a minute after this, we're finished. Doctors lost their license. One from Texas, Methodist Hospital. A nurse lost it, saw her patients on that going through, she could have ivermectin. Oh, don't take it. His horse tranquil, blah, blah, blah. But in the first 7 days, if they get it, they would be fine. No, put them on a ventilator. I have people that told me this. Doctor, lost his license. He knows what to do, but he was told, no, give them the vaccine, put them on the ventilator. When they could have gotten them on ivermectin in the first 7 days, and they could recover or so. Just phenomenal. I'm not a doctor or anything, but hearing what really happened out there. And Senator Johnson is the only one that took people publicly like you and I, what happened? And he held a press conference. I have that video. It's very important because we have even people from the Department of Justice or the DOJ that was saying also, This stuff was set up even for the military. They wouldn't. The military service personnel were not going to be in service if they didn't take the vaccine. So a lot of them were backing out, and all this stuff. It was a fanfare. Unfortunately, it was serious, and at the same time, we were bamboozled in some way. Till this day, Dr. Fauci, they're looking to get on him because there was another thing on him too. He said, if you stay indoors, you don't get it. If you stay out 6 feet, so which one is it? Anyway, we'll end this. Father, we'll sing one song of 185. Sister, 184? Oh yeah, Jesus paid it all. Yeah. Hold on a minute.
Do all of you know this song? Okay. We'll do 185.
Yeah, one stanza. Okay. We'll begin. Jesus, Jesus is all the world to me. My life, my joy, my all. He is my strength from day to day. Without him I would fall. When I am sad, to him I go. No other one can cheer me so. When I am sad, he makes me glad. He's my friend. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Brother, you mind to close prayer for me?
Let's bow our heads for prayer. Gracious God, we're so very grateful and thankful for using us this day to share the things we have learned, share that your coming is very soon, and we need to prepare for your coming. May we all rejoice in the fact that this world is soon coming to an end. We know that troubles are ahead, but we know that you see us through no matter what. And so we trust that everyone here and all the church may have a new week. Bless them and be with them. For we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.